All right, and we're live. Hey, Danny. Good morning.
Good morning. Now I'm
We
not gonna
are.
have nothing to talk about.
I know. That's why I don't like coming on so early when I have a guest on, because especially somebody that I don't know, because then you want to start talking, and you get into conversation, and you start talking about some
You're
dime pieces
right.
that you could use for the live stream, and it's like, how do we incorporate that back into the live stream? And it just makes it,
Yeah.
kind of awkward sometimes. But no, I know the
Yeah.
little bit that we spoke. I know that you're just south of San Antonio, um, which is interesting because my son's actually stationed in Lackland, so we go up there at least once a year to go visit him. So I think I'm going to reach out
Oh,
the
that's
next time I know
nice.
I'm going to be in town, and maybe we can link up.
How far is that from Killeen?
From where?
Killeen, Texas, where the other military base is.
You know what? I'm not sure. I'd
Well,
have
he's
to
in
check.
the he's in the army?
No, he's in the Air Force.
Oh, Air Force. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
my son was stationed when he took off to, I guess when he got his orders, he was in Killeen. So, but he's out of the military now, so he's glad to be out.
Oh, okay. He didn't. What was he in? What branch? Army?
Just Army, airborne.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I told my son he wasn't going into the army. I got to see how the Air Force get treated their people, and I said,
Yeah,
"No, you're going to the Air
he
Force."
wanted to go to the Marines.
Yeah, you're prior service too, aren't you?
No, I never was. I almost did, but I was dating my wife. That's what kept me from going into the military.
Oh,
She was
okay.
going to go to the Navy also, and we both decided not to join the forces. But
Yeah, no, it's the I thought for some reason I had seen something with the Semper Fi on either one of your videos or something that you were, and that's why I thought you were ex-Marine. Because you
yeah,
got
well,
Marines
I
are
used to
always
have a
wearing.
YouTube, I used to have a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a prepping channel a long time ago, about 15 years ago.
about 11 years ago. So the last videos that I was seeing on there were about 11 years ago.
Yeah, well, a lot of the older ones we deleted because
Oh,
there was a lot of stuff going on in the system, and
um,
we deleted. My son was the one that would record all the stuff and a lot of the preparations and stuff that we would do here around the house, and just kind of have militarized zones and stuff.
well, you know what? After what we experienced, during this whole pandemic situation, and
Yeah,
I used to be so naive for the longest time, thinking that you know the law enforcement and all everybody else would watch out for our interest and make sure that we're protected. That's all an
right.
illusion. That's all illusion. When you start seeing when they started having all those riots and you started seeing just people going bananas and nobody doing anything about anything,
Right.
I said, this is not even near being apocalyptic or anything like that. And the government system has
Right.
failed totally. So I said, now I get it. Now I understand. I used to kind of have that misconception of preppers being extremely paranoid. But
Right.
I quickly changed my opinion on that after seeing how society responds over toilet paper. People were going bananas
Oh yeah,
over
because I mean, in a
toilet
matter of three
paper.
days, the system breaks down. Yeah, the system breaks down in 3 days. There's no more food on the shelves,
Well, it's not
and
only that, it's just
if we
interesting to
haven't
watch.
prepared,
It's interesting to watch the behavior of people change. How they go from being civil
right?
to complete animals over, stuff that I don't know. I saw that and I said, you know what? I get it. I get it 100%. Something ever happens, you have to be able to
Yeah,
stand on your own. There's just, you know, it's just
exactly.
if this was not a wake up call for people that were, in our society to pay attention to what happens when the state fails,
Exactly.
I don't know what is. And it's just that's why I find people really interesting and admirable that are making sure that if there's nothing's out there for you anymore, that you still know how to stay,
Yep.
how to survive. And it's just
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, you needed to have some very basic skills, regardless of what the
Yeah.
situation is, and some knowledge. So all those people that know how to forage, people that know how to grow stuff, plants and stuff like that, you know, a lot of us spend a lot of time on YouTube watching, whatever kind of videos. That's some of the stuff now that
Yeah.
I've kind of dabbed a little bit into understanding and knowing how to how to sustain out, if you have to. There's one channel that I really like to watch, and it's called Corporal's Corner, and it's mostly about
Mhm.
camping, for the most part. But there are some valuable skills that he's teaching on there. Just everything from how to make a makeshift shelter in case you have to, find yourself
Exactly.
lost in the forest or something. A lot of those
Right.
things are things that you never think about, and he shows you how to, having very basic essential tools, you can manage to stay alive. So those are the kind of things that I find interesting, and I really just like learning.
Yeah, I'm
So
the same way. I mean, I learned most of my skills from prepping off the YouTube channels because they go back pretty good ways when I first started, or my whole family was. And we have a few friends that we keep in contact. We got our little group, and we make sure that we stay in touch because if we lose any kind of communication, especially our phones and stuff, make sure you have backup like two-way radios, some way to communicate to reach each other and stuff like that. And some are in charge of more the security part, some are in charge of rations, being able to store a lot of food for the families and stuff. So, and it's not that that's all we do. We've already planned that we got all that stuff set up in case. It's kind of like you have a fire extinguisher, you'll never use it, but you have it
yeah, yeah, it's
just
it's
in case.
what does the saying say? It's better to have it and not needed than needed and not have it. It's but I
Exactly.
and then it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's kind of scary. You have like out in California where they're pushing so hard to go everything electrical. And what's
Oh,
usually the
yeah.
first thing that fails, when you have and it's just natural events. I'm not even talking about, end of days kind of stuff. You have a big hurricane, earthquake, something, a fire, and the first thing that always goes
Right.
down is the power grid. And if
Yep.
everybody's relying on electrical stuff, then you're
Exactly.
stranded. You're stranded.
We're
So
basically we're enslaved to electricity.
yeah, yeah, I think we are. But
Yes,
it's
sir. We're slaves.
but yeah, that's just that was one of the things when I'm trying to remember how. Well, I think I know how your channel popped up on my algorithm, and that's because one of the things that I do like to do is look for some of the new channels that are out there. And then once I found it, I think the one that I remember is you were moving in. I think the aquarium behind you. You're having your. I think it was your son help you put it up on the stand, and
Oh
and
yeah,
I,
the
that
550.
yeah, that was like the first video I saw, and then from there I started kind of going back, and that's when I always like to go back to the very beginning of people's channels, just to see what they do, because I'm starting to find out not everybody starts out as a fish channel. People have multiple interests,
Right.
so it's always nice to see that evolution. Where they start and where they're going. And I was really surprised when I think one of the videos that really stood out was the Desert Eagle, where you were talking about the rounds, and I was like, holy, Danny likes his toys. I was thinking, so I was watching that video, and then started watching some of the other prep stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. So, but then,
Yeah, that's
what was that, Danny?
no, see, that's my favorite carry gun. That's what I carry all the time.
And then from there, all of a sudden, I start seeing the switch to aquariums. So, talk me about that. How does that happen? How do you go from being that type of a channel to all of a sudden completely changing that?
Well, that channel had ended a long time ago, and we had actually started a different channel. It's not on off of this one. Had to deal with the business that we had for the last 20 years was high power rockets. So I've been doing that all my life. Basically, it was building model rockets. So here in Texas, years back, there was never a manufacturer building rockets here in Texas. They were all out of state. So I got with a few other companies, and they allowed me to start ordering supplies from them, but I wanted to know where their suppliers were, and they wouldn't give me their big supplier names, and because they didn't want to lose money. So I finally found them. I found out who the suppliers after about 2 or 3 years. So we went ahead and started full blown our company, and we would manufacture our own model rockets, and
Were
it did
were
real
you guys
well.
doing the tubes, or you guys were doing the booster engines?
No, just the tubes.
Okay.
It was a whole kit, the fins, the parachutes, the whole kit came together. My oldest son, he would do all the last few years, we bought a bunch of equipment to do all the 3D printing, all the plastic nose cone parts and stuff like that. And it became too much. Too much money going in and nothing coming back, and not enough coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I recently stumbled across this channel of a young lady out in California. Her name's I want to say it's Zyla Foxlin, I think. And I guess she's studying some type of engineering, and she decided to get into building rocket models, but they do the ones where they try to go above the atmosphere. And I was like, wow, she's building like these 10-foot rockets, and it's really interesting to watch all that. I find them fascinating. I didn't start doing rocket models as a kid because I didn't know that was a thing. It wasn't until I was probably, I don't know, in my mid-20s that I discovered that hobby, and I got into it for a little while. But after a while, it gets expensive. All those booster engines that you start burning through and trying to get higher and higher every time, and the hobby gets expensive real quick. You still with us, Danny? Or are you frozen? Oh, looks like he froze, or at least at my end. Is he frozen on your guys' end? Let me see. I'm waiting for somebody. Well, in the meantime, let me get some hellos out of the way. There we go. Yeah, he must have had some technical issues. I want to let me see who's joining us today. There's quite a bit of you. There's 45. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me see. Mal, thank you for being here. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. Hey, thanks for accepting me into your guys' Facebook page for the club. There he is.
Oh, what happened?
It froze, and then it froze for a minute, and then you just kind of dropped off. I was in the process of just acknowledging some of the people that have joined us.
Okay.
And but since I started doing that, let me make sure. But there's like 46 people watching us. This is getting bananas how many people are coming in to watch some of these things. But George Aquaballs, thank you so much. Outside In, Kyle, thank you so much. Kayla, Amisa, thank you so much. Whip, thank you for being here. Steven, thank you. June, let me see. I saw Alex, Fathom Aquatics, Moochie Boost, thank you so much. Mal, Tommy, Aquafunk, Eddie, Vibes Aquatics, Sam, thank you so much for dropping those links too. And I got a bone to pick with you, Sam, and we'll discuss that later. Just kidding. Uh, let me see. Rico, thank you for sending everybody over. Didi, thank you so much. Coral, YFI, Jason, Nano the aquarium guy, thank you for being here. Let's see. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. That's Boots Cats. And let me see. I'm trying to see if I. Hopefully, Barbara Jackson, thank you so much. Vinoski, thank you for joining us. Let's see. Coral, I think I already mentioned. What's that?
I said, you got a good crowd.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised. Scotty Aquati, thank you for joining us. J Rock, thank you. Gabriel, I got to say Gabriel because then Gabriel's going to get his feelings hurt if I don't say Gabriel. He's very sensitive.
Yeah.
Merrick, thank you so much for joining us. Benjamin Peters, thank you for being here. Matt, thank you so much. Linda, Charles, Mandy. You see, Lobster Lab. ¿Cómo estás, Paquito? Gracias por estar aquí. The Bud Files. Let's see. I'm trying to get up to the top. I think that's everybody. If I miss somebody, I am so sorry. I was trying to go through this as quickly as possible. Thank you guys for joining me. In case you didn't know, I have Danny from Danny Aquatics joining me today. And we're just going to try to get here, getting to know Danny. This is the first time I actually get to even speak with Danny. I know we've exchanged a couple of messages back and forth. I've been watching what he's been doing for a while, and I just find Danny as a whole person very interesting, and he's just kind of telling us a little bit about his background and some of the things that he does. Jimmy P, thanks for joining us, and so we'll get back to it. I know you were telling me that your business was you guys had a model rocket business, and you said, is it just me or is some of these because I remember doing that as a hobby. I started off with the regular, I guess, the 12-inch tubes that you get from, the kits that you would get at the hobby shop or whatever.
Yeah, you get the Estes and Centuri rocket kits. That's how I started. I had been building them since back in the early 70s. And I had a big collection of about 100 little rockets when I lived at the house with my parents. And I had my little old room, kind of like my fish room. I had all my rockets in there. And I got married, and I'd go steal it. I'd go dust off all my rockets and stuff. And we moved to Houston, and my mom and my dad were constantly complaining. They wanted that room back. And they said, come and clean that room up. We want the rockets out of there. And I said, okay. I said, as soon as I get down there, I'll come and clean it up. I walked in there one day after about 2 or 3 years that we were gone. And I told my mom, I ran inside. I said, Mom, we've been robbed. Somebody broke into my rocket room. All the rockets are gone. She says, no, I got tired of you waiting on you. She said, I took them to the dump. I said, no, so she trashed them all. But oh well. Luckily, I had one rocket in the house on the buffet, and that's the only one that survived.
Well, this is going to be the test right here. How serious of a rocket hobbyist were you? What is the oddest object you try to launch with the propellant engines, the little booster engines?
Now, I mean, we did back then. We had I had the egg loft launcher. That's about all. I think we might have put a little lizard back then when I was about 13 years old.
So you never tried to launch like a teddy bear or just weird objects that you would try to strap these rockets to and see if they would take off?
Some of the bigger stuff. I have one in the other part of the garage. It breaks down into about like 8 sections. It's 32 feet long. It's like 14-inch in diameter, weighs about 220 pounds. It's big.
Well, I know they get real big, and there's some serious competitions. When I was younger, I had an internship. Well, no, this time I was actually already working for the Bureau of Land Management. And up in northern Nevada, there's an area that's a dry lake bed. It's actually where they have the Burning Man event. It's called the Black Rock Desert. And out there, they would go and have some serious hobbyists. I don't know if they're hobbyists or professionals, but all these guys were trying to see who could send them the highest. But the rockets that were there looked like missiles. They don't. They were like humongous,
Yeah.
carbon fiber tubes. But
Yes.
they would take off, and it almost like seeing a space shuttle take off. It was just like, what the hell? It's just crazy. And then it was always interesting to try to guess where the thing was going to land, because they were always trying to take wind speeds and directions and all that, because they would get up so high.
Right.
And they would often miscalculate how far away from the launch area was going to be at. And we would have to go out in these search parties out there, because there's a lot of limited areas outside of the playa, and they can't be driving in there. So they would have to stay on the trails. And then, they even, for the big events, they even had a helicopter that would fly over, because they couldn't go just cross country backpacking. So they would fly over, try to pinpoint it, and then they would send somebody to go retrieve the rockets. But, you're talking thousands of dollars in these rockets. They're not your hobbyist rockets.
Just the motor casings, that I have are 4 feet long. The motors, at least 4-inch in diameter. I have some that are 3, but I mean, they can get pretty costly. The housing itself, you pay like one time. They're about $400 to $600 for the housing for the motor, and then you fill it with the propellant. Then the propellant is going to cost you about another $500 to $800 to fill that, and that's actually a large motor. And the large rocket that I have in the other room, it takes like 3 of those motors to launch it. So you're looking at about $3,000 to launch it one time, just the propellant. So it has electronics. It has barometric sensors, accelerometers. This way, it sets off different charges as it's coming down, because you're going to reach an altitude of maybe like 16,000 feet, maybe 30,000 feet.
That's what I was going to ask.
So it's going way up there. And you don't want the main chute, because that rocket there has a main chute that's 47 foot, a 47-foot parachute. And you don't want that opening up at 2 miles up in the air.
You'll never retrieve it.
You recover it maybe at the East Coast. But
you'll be sending fighter jets after it, because it's an unidentified object coming down to Earth.
Yeah, because here where I live, our ceiling is only 10,000 feet. So I could only do our test subjects on the stuff that we would sell. I'd always launch and test here in front of my parents' house, because the owner gave me permission. He had about 20,000 field acres, and usually when it was plowed and clean, it was just free game. I could go anywhere on there and launch my rocket, but I still had to get permission from the FAA, whatever. And you got to call it in and set up a schedule to launch, so they can clear the airspace, because they will see it going up. If it's going over 1,000 feet, they know it's going up. So, but I would keep it about 8,000, so they wouldn't get too high,
Yeah, the problem is not getting them up. The problem is being able to retrieve them.
Yeah, we have some. They're called Earth cores. They come in ballistic, and they just disappear into the ground. They come in ballistic at least 300 miles an hour. And it's so cool, but you're never going to see your rocket again.
So how much money are you burning on one of those?
Yeah, it like instantly disappears when it hits the ground. But they're a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed all my kids grew up launching model rockets and stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So. Yeah. My grandkids now are 9 and 8, and I think I'm going to start. I think I'm going to go get one of the little kits out here. I just drive maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm out in the desert, and especially out here in the wintertime. I don't want to be out there in the summertime, but I think in the wintertime it'll be fun just to get them to experience that. And and see
Well, I still
something
have
go
a
up.
trailer full. I got a trailer full of steel kits that I just kept put up. Let me know. We'll get together after this, and you can shoot me your address, and I'll send you some so your kids can build.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to launch anything into orbit though.
No, I have smaller stuff that I would sell.
Oh,
They're
oh,
only
okay.
like 2 or 3 foot long.
Only
Uh,
I like the ones where you have the little rod that you just line it up and takes off
yeah.
like little bottle rockets. It's a glorified
Right.
bottle rocket.
Yeah. Even those were hard to find sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's just that I don't even think I have a hobby shop here anymore. They just kind of go
Yeah.
under. It's hard for
Yeah.
those to sustain, especially with with Amazon. How are you going to compete with that?
Exactly.
So it's which I haven't even
We
thought about.
we were just talking about that, how the reason for the failure of our company was because of, especially our suppliers, the cost of all the expenses for the tubes, the plywood. I would use a certain type of plywood. It's Russian birch.
Oh, okay.
I used to, the sheets come in a 5 foot by 5 foot sheet by 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch. Those sheets, the 1/4 inch sheet, I was paying about, when I first started, maybe $19 for a 5 foot by 5 foot sheet. And I would order about like 45 sheets at a time. And that would last me mostly all year. And then right before a lot of the pandemic and stuff hit, we were already paying like $27 a sheet. It had gone up. And I had just placed an order for about 40 more sheets. And they called me but I paid in advance for 40 sheets at $27 a sheet. They called me back about 2 days later and said, there's going to be a delay. Do you want me to just refund the money? I said, no. I said, just keep it. Whenever the supplies come in, just ship them to me. She says, well, okay. She says, okay, fine. 2 days later, the supply is on my porch or on my driveway. I said, how did they get the product so quick? But what the problem was, they were fixing to raise the prices and they didn't want to lose at $27. So when I went back to check after they had delivered, the price has gone from $27 to $57 a sheet.
Wow.
So I told my wife, man, whenever I use up this wood, I said, there is no way I can make it work at $57 a sheet. I said, there's no way. I mean, it's just too costly.
And
And
this
the
was
tubes that I would order were the same way. I mean, I used to pay like for a 4-inch tube, it's just a craft paper tube by 34 inches long. I was paying around $1 a tube. The shipping, they would come 34 to a box. The shipping cost more than what the materials were inside the box. So the company got bought out, and this huge company bought, and they raised the prices on everything. So a $1 tube went to $10.99 a tube.
wow.
So that's crazy. So I couldn't
Now
order 1,000 tubes no more like I
the
was.
oh, okay. The plywood you were using to wrap it was the skin of the rocket, or was it for the fins,
No,
or what were you?
that was for the fins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for
Now,
the fins, they were already, I pre-cut everything. All you had to do was sand them or fiberglass everything.
oh, okay. Yeah. So it was the at that time it was cheaper to do the wood than any other poly type of material.
Yeah, because I didn't have the suppliers that I was trying to find out to see if I could get like fiberglassing material, like a G10 material. It was just almost as expensive. It had been cheaper before, but everything, all the things that I was capable of using had gone up at least three times its value. So
Yep.
it was hard.
Well, and then
But
so you go from having your business. Are you keeping fish the whole time, or is this like?
I mean, I started an aquarium about 20 years ago. I had a saltwater aquarium.
Okay.
And we had
I'll
that for
forgive you.
about 7 years. Yeah, we had it about 7 years, and it was just a little 55-gallon aquarium. We only had one, and it got infested with some sort of, I can't remember what they call it. It's like an enemy, but it's a bad thing in there. And I can't remember the name of that plant that grows in there. It's almost as bad as brown algae, but it ended up killing off all of my reef, and I had some beautiful, coral growing in there and stuff, and that was it. After 7 years, I just went ahead and shut it down. So about 2.5 years ago, of all places, I went to Goodwill. And they had the same identical aquarium sitting at Goodwill, and it was literally brand new. And it had everything: the lids, the light, it had I think it was I can't remember what brand is that, but it had a hand on the back, an HOV, and it had everything you needed to just start the aquarium. They wanted $19 for the aquarium. And I told her, she says, take it. She says, it's like just like the one we had. And that's where it started again about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So are you I've been looking through your videos. You've obviously kind of kept different species, but I see that the predominantly what you like are some of the cichlids.
Yeah, I have mostly just like South American and Central American, but I started off with just mostly Ambuna when I first started. And I started by accident. I thought I was buying Ambuna at PetSmart, but they were actually haps.
Oh.
And some were peacocks. But they were mislabeling them. They wouldn't label them right there at PetSmart. And
surprise.
Then later on, I bought a bigger aquarium. I went to Goodwill again, and I found a 65-gallon aquarium, and I got it for $14. And it leaked on me twice. It was a marine land, so marine lands are unpredictable. They're bad. They have pretty glass and everything, but the framing that they use, the plastic molding to make it doesn't last. It'll crack and start leaking on you.
Yeah,
And,
it's real brittle.
But I fixed it up, and it's been doing good for a long time now. I set that one in my office. It's full of convicts. I got I had a pair of convicts when I first started. Little 10-gallon, a friend had given me, so I put 2 convicts in there. I had to take them out because of my big aquarium, because they were a menace to the other fish.
Yes.
And I told my wife, no wonder they call them convicts. So I put them together, and sure enough, lo and behold, they were a pair, and they had about like 20 or 30 little freaking fish or fry. So then I had to get a bigger aquarium. So they end up in that 65-gallon, and there's probably about 40 of them now, because they keep spawning. I told them, I don't see how they could. You figure they're going to eat each other up, but every once in a while you'll see little ones again. Apparently, some will hide and survive somewhere in there.
Well, they make pretty good parents. It's the juveniles that'll probably eat them, but that was my very, very first fish, and I can attest that they are bulletproof. If you kill convicts, you're doing something horribly wrong, because I did everything incorrect, and them suckers made it through everything.
Yeah.
And not only that, they produce. They're the equivalent to guppies of the cichlids.
Yeah. I still remember that. My dad, when I was pretty young, I was about 8 or 10 years old. Our first aquarium my dad had, and it might have been no more than a 10-gallon aquarium. And he had, as they call black mollies and guppies. And I remember those things, there was not even enough room for water. There were so many of them in there because they would breed so much. And I was still thinking about the filter. I remember my dad taking it was like a little clear plastic filter, and he would fill it up about halfway with charcoal. And then instead of polyfill back then, I think they used something like, it was called like angel hair. It was a weird looking material. And I was just thinking about that today. I said, man, that was some great. I don't think they sell that stuff for filter no more.
Probably not, but they do sell the box filters still. As a matter of fact, I got a brand new one sitting on one of the aquariums that I
Yeah,
was growing out some angelfish in. And
yeah,
so I know they still make box filters. They're a little bit different now. This one I have is like for a corner. Um
yeah. This was
and
it was for a little corner.
and they actually upgraded the materials that come with it as far as the filter media.
Yeah,
But the concept is still there. And I had to
yeah,
try it. I mean, this was gifted to me and I said, you know what? One of the things that I'm a proponent of is trying all the different things that are out there, just see how it
yeah,
works. And like I've always said, everything works. It just depends
yeah.
the application that you want to use it in. That's going to determine what type of system you use. Because I know you just recently, the video you dropped today, I haven't had a chance to see, but you were talking about swapping out your sump.
Yeah, no, I was swapping the socks in the
Oh,
sump.
okay. Doing
I do that
maintenance.
every Wednesday. There's some homemade socks that I put. Actually, mine are actually on the leaving end of the sump instead of at the beginning. Because at the beginning, I have set up like a 5 gallon can with about 5 inches of lava rock and then about 6 inches of sponge. And then on top of the sponge, I have some of that little deflector grating material for the lights.
Yes.
And then I have like polyfill, about 3 inches of polyfill. And then the water splashes through there to kind of clean the water up, is just going through there. And then the bottom of the sumps, there's about 5 or 6 inches of lava rock through both. I have two those plastic totes, and they're connected together. And then the second one, I have the pump in there, and it's full with lava rock. But in there on the discharge, I put as the water's leaving the primary one is going into the secondary one, I have a filter sock there. And then from there, the water comes back into the aquarium. And they get pretty nasty. Even if it's gone through the filtration, the sock on the end still receives a lot of stuff.
Oh. Now you said you make your own sock filters. How do you do that?
Yeah,
It's the first time
you
I've
can.
heard of anybody making them.
Yeah, I mean, I've sewn so many parachutes and all that kind of stuff. I said, I know I can make the filter socks because I've sold thousands of parachutes when I was building the rocket kits. And I said, I just go to the fabric store and they have the stuff at Hobby Lobby. They have it at Walmart. It's 100% polyester material or whatever it is, nylon or no, it is polyester. And it comes in quilted material in different thicknesses and densities. And the one I use, it's a little more of a covering cloth, but it can still be torn apart, if you really pull on it.
Mm.
But it's still sewable. So the ones I had, I didn't even sew them. I was going to sew, but my wife has her own sewing room. So I got her. She said, no, I'll do it. So I said, fine, I'm tired of sewing. So she sewed them. All I did was cut them, and she sewed them up. She even put a little loop, put a little lanyard on them, and she made me about 20 or 30 of them. So I got enough probably last for 10 years now.
Oh, nice.
I'm still using the same ones when I started a year and a half ago. I just rinse them out. I'm about to change them out. I'm pretty frugal, so I need to change them out and put some new ones and throw the old ones away.
Well, I'm the same way. I don't if I can find a way to extend the life of something or use it or
Yeah,
find something an alternative and a cheaper alternative thing to use. I'm a big advocate of using lava rock as your biological filtration. I mean, I have it in just about all my aquariums. So
right.
yeah, I understand that whole concept of being frugal.
Yeah, just like this one here on this side of me, the 265, the latest one that I built. The glass actually came off of the 265 that I went and picked up in Houston about 4 months ago. Had a real good deal with the aquarium and the cabinet for a few $100s. So we went and picked it up. I cleaned it all up, sealed it, started filling up I let it set for about 5 or 6 days, the silicone. So I said, that should be plenty. So I started doing the water test. The next morning, it sprung a leak. I said, "Oh no!" I said, "I've never had one really leak like that." So I said, "Well, I cleaned it all out, took everything, well, dumped the water out, had to strip it all down again, and so what I did was I just added more silicone to the base and cleaned the base out because what was happening at the bottom, there was actually a gap. There was silicone missing between the glass. So I was able to go in there with a real thin little cutting edge and scrape as much of the sand and blow the area out to force silicone to go up in between the glass. So I did that. And I let it sit for about a week, and then I started to do the water test. And then that one actually stayed longer. I said, okay, so it's doing good. So it's been over a week, it's held water. So I went ahead and put the substrate in, put the rocks in. 3 days later, it starts leaking. So I said, dang it. I said, I didn't know what to do. So I had to drain it out again, clean it all up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take it apart. I said, because I think that was the second or third time already. I said, no, it's not going to seal. But what was the problem was the bottom seam of that of the molding on the plastic. It had an actual crack about almost 3 feet long. But that 265 is actually an old marine land, the 7-footer. And when I started taking it apart, I noticed that that area was broke. I said, that's why it wouldn't seal, because it kept pushing out. That molding wouldn't hold that little frame. So I said, well, irregardless, I tore it all apart, and I said, I'll just build another one similar to the 550 on this side. And sure enough, but now I have another 7-foot panel by 30 inches or 32 inches. I can build another aquarium, so I'll be able to get another one built. So,
yeah, and these are plywood aquariums, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's plywood. Well, they're actually they're double plywood, 3/4 inch. And I mean, I learned a lot of this, how to build it. I probably watched the video about 50 times or more on King of DIY. Oh, Joey.
Yeah.
And there's been a few others, like there's a guy that he shows how to build the weirs. They're called what do they call that? I'm trying to think of the name of it. I forget it. But his channel is Free Swimmer, and he has some real good tips on how to build plywood aquariums. And he shows how to build those overflows for your aquarium.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've seen his channel. I know there was a glass box.
But I think it's called Free Swimmer. Y'all do, man. Give him a shout out.
Yeah, I'll have to go. I'll have to go check him out. I don't think I'm familiar with this channel.
Yeah.
So how many aquariums total do you have?
Here in the fish room, I got the 3 large ones and 3 small ones. Or no, 4 small ones. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. And inside the house, I got 2 150s, a 65, a 55, 20, and 3 10s. At least 12, maybe 13.
What are you keeping on the smaller ones? Are they just grow outs, or you're keeping more of the?
Small ones are kind of little hospitals or just grow outs and stuff like that. So I have a few where I have certain fish that I don't know where else to put them. Besides, I wanted to put them down the toilet, but I can't be that cruel.
You need to link up with one of your local fish clubs and go take them to the auction.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nobody local here. I'd have to go to Corpus or San Antonio, because here in Victoria, close to where I live, there's the only thing around here is PetSmart. That's it, and it's gotten worse and worse.
Yes.
So.
Yes, I know. There was somebody here from the San Antonio Fish Club. What's her name? It's Elizabeth, I think.
Uh-huh.
And they started up recently, I guess, relatively recent, a fish club in San Antonio. I think it's one of the first ones, if I'm not mistaken. And so that could be a possibility for you.
Yeah.
One of the closer ones. I mean, I have to drive either 3 hours east or 3 hours west just to be able to
Right.
go to a fish club.
Really?
So, mhm.
Well, no, I wouldn't have to go that far, but mine from here, from Victoria area to San Antonio, probably about an hour and a half. So it's not that far. But yeah, I think I've mentioned it to Gabriel because I have a lot of the convicts. I really want to kind of get rid of some of that stuff. And even if it's just handing them over just to someone that might want some.
Yeah, no. What for me, I'm in the same situation that you are. The only thing I have is a PetSmart. Um, so I rely a lot on Marketplace, and some of the pages that on Facebook for people that are looking for stuff and oh, here's Elizabeth. This is what she's the one that is part of that fish club that's out there in San Antonio, and I guess they're
Okay,
getting ready to do swaps. But
good.
it's still a relatively a relatively new club, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I'll have to send her a text or hook up to her email.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I wish I was that closer. I would be more involved. It's just it'd be really and then it really becomes a whole day event for me because the meetings will be around noon. So I have to take
Right.
off early in the morning and by the time they get done and stuff like that, I'll try to make the most of it, especially if I'm going to the Phoenix area. I'll go check out some of the local stores that are up there and see what they have or stuff like that, and then drive back. But it's a whole day affair. So if I want to go on a work day, I got to ask for vacations to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
which I have plenty of vacation, but I don't want it to become like a constant every at the beginning of every month that I'm taking off every Sunday because other guys have their weekends and they have to cover for me. So I try not
Yeah.
to abuse it.
The old contractor that I used to work with, we had like 5 to 6 weeks of vacation. They would give it to you all at once. But now with this company that I work with, this new contract, because we get bought out every so many years and somebody else comes in. Same employees, just a different company. So they've little by little, they've taken away a lot of our benefits. So now we just accrue hours through the year. It comes to maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of vacation. So by the time I accrue enough hours, if I'm on my 7 days off, I try to take off my Friday night, my first night back. So I want to take off at least 8 days, sometimes 9. I like my
Yeah.
time off.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's just, yeah, Saki is coming up. Thank you, Richard. That's, they have an event where they'll up in the Phoenix area and they have like 3 different fish clubs. Phoenix is big enough where they have a Kili fish club. They have the regular club with the fish club that we keep, and then I think they have another like focusing on plants, like plant enthusiasts, and those clubs will come together and they do like a big swap, and
Right.
similar to what Houston does with the one they call Taco, the Texas. What is it? I forget, but I just thought it was so ironic that the acronyms for that swap is called Taco in Texas. But
That's kind of funny because my arowana, I couldn't really come up with a name for it, and so I told my wife, I said, I want to name it something. It's like some of your special fish. You always have a name for it. And I said, well, you know what? It looks like a taco, so I'm gonna name him Paco. So it
yeah,
has to be something with food for me. If it reminds me of something that looks like food, I'm gonna name it.
the silver burrito.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no,
I had
but
to bring my green thermos in here and drink coffee because I drink a lot of coffee here and at work. I told my wife, I need to put a coffee maker in here, so when I'm in here, I can have my coffee all the time. And
Yeah.
but this is my old thermos I used to use. Well, I use when we go fishing and stuff. Because even when we're fishing, I gotta have some coffee. It can be during the
Yeah.
summertime, and I have some coffee.
Yeah. I've unfortunately I picked up that habit too. And so now I drink coffee all day long. I
But
try
I drink
not
it
to,
just
but I could drink coffee before going to bed, but I recently have noticed that my sleep is not as good. If
yeah,
I mean, I'll go to sleep, but I'll toss and turn a lot, and I get wake up and I feel a little bit tired, like I
yeah.
didn't get my full rest. So I try not to drink it before going to bed. But doing all the shift work that I do, you just you're trying to your rhythm of your internal clock is all messed up. That you're trying to stay
Right.
awake at odd hours of the day because your sleep pattern is all disrupted. So I
So,
just rely on coffee.
so George, you grew up in California or in San Antonio?
No, no, no. I have family in Texas because my kids have moved there, but
I
um,
got you.
but I grew up in California. I was born in Los Angeles. Um, was there probably till I don't know 8 or 9, and then my dad moved back
Hmm.
to where he's originally from Mexicali, which is right on the border. It would be
Okay.
the equivalent to El Paso and Ciudad Juarez.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
kind of that
But
same dynamic where you have the big cities on both sides of the well,
right.
you have two cities right on the border, literally. And
Yeah.
so we moved back there, and I was pretty much raised in Mexicali, but I used to be a
Oh, okay.
commuter, a daily commuter. I used to cross ever since I can remember. I was like 9 years old, and
Really?
my mom would walk us to the taxi, and she would give the cab driver, you can't drop him off, but until he gets to where the port of entry is at, and that's the only
Yeah.
place he can get off. So the cab drivers were really cool because they would make sure and that nobody messed with us or anything like that. So we would get in there, he'd drop us off because there were routes. The way the taxi routes work in Mexico, they have certain routes. It's not like New York where you hire a cab and it takes you wherever you want. They were like bus routes, but they were taxis, they were cabs, they were cars. And after a while, you start getting the same guys and they come familiar with you. And so, my mom would just kind of, acknowledge who it was, make sure we got on, and off we went. And then we would get off, we would walk across the border and then walk to school. And I did
Wow.
that basically all my life. And
Wow.
so, you know, so I've been a border commuter for many, many, many years. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I finally moved full time to the United States. And
Wow.
I actually
USA?
left California
Really?
when we did that because I got outpriced. I couldn't afford to buy anything in California in the
Oh,
town that I was at. And it's a farming community. Called the Imperial Valley, and it's composed of like 6 different little towns, which makes no sense. We're about an hour and a half, hour 45 east of San Diego. And what ended up happening, and I can pinpoint it exactly to when the market just went bananas. When San Diego had the big fires, um, I don't know, up in the Poway area, probably about now 15 years ago is probably when it happened. Well, the people in the metro area over there were used to doing 1 hour commutes, 2 hour commutes, not because of distance, just simply because of traffic. They're sitting idle in traffic, not being able to advance. So when they got displaced because of the fire, a lot of them had to move down to stay temporarily down in the Imperial Valley. And they realized the commute was not bad. And the pricing for home was about a third of what they were paying for homes up in the San Diego area. So all of a sudden, we got an influx of all those people in San Diego that were making the Imperial Valley like a bedroom community. And the prices just started skyrocketing. Now you can't find a home under 300,000 in a community where the average income is probably about 60,000. So I, to
golly.
this day, don't understand how people can afford they're house broke. That's really what they are. They're just working to pay for the house. And
Yeah.
I refused to do that. I said, I'm not going to do that. So I was very lucky that with the agency that I'm working now actually had uh, an uh, an office over here, really on the border of California and Arizona on the Colorado River, because I work at the dam. And
Yeah.
I took a gamble and I said I'm going to buy a home in Yuma, which is Arizona, but it's only about a 55-mile distance commute to where our headquarters is at. And I
Oh,
was
so you
thinking,
actually live in Utah?
yes, I live in Arizona. Yes, I
Oh,
got
okay.
like I said, I got out of California, and
Okay.
a- and I was able to buy a much better home. It's kind of, I got the best of two worlds because I moved into a marketplace that's a lot more livable, and I kept my
Yeah.
California wages. So I actually took a pay increase by moving out here, because it
Yeah.
automatically boosts my income, because everything is
Right.
much more inexpensive. And so
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have to commute roughly about 5 years, because the office that I'm currently working in, it's a small crew, and most of those guys will work there until they retire. So, and the guys that were there currently, were most of them are kind of close to my age, so they're not gonna, we're gonna probably be retiring at the same time. But luckily, a guy took early retirement, and then unfortunately, we had a guy that suddenly passed away, so it opened up a couple of slots. And
Yeah.
and what I thought was going to be like I was on a 5-year plan, it actually happened within a year and a half. So it just worked out perfectly for me. I got very fortunate in that way. And
Yeah.
yeah, Mexizona, I'm gonna have to change it to that. And so it all just kind of fell into place. And now I'm here, but I'm really just across the river from California. That's why I'm in Arizona, because it's literally the Colorado River. Um, the west bank of it is California. The east bank of it is Arizona. So it's literally a bridge. It's literally a bridge that separates the two states. So, but that's where I'm at, and so I'm still relatively close. One of my kids still lives down there in the Imperial Valley, so we drive down there. It's only about a 45-minute drive, and
Yeah.
so it's not a bad commute. But I'm complaining about what the San Diego County did to the Imperial Valley, but us in the Imperial Valley, we ended up getting pushed out of there, and a lot of us moved out here to Arizona, and we kind of drew the market up a little bit more, because that's what they complain about here now. Is like, you Californian guys came up here and drove up the market. But for
Yeah.
us, it was still the home that I bought. I would have never been able to get for under
Exactly.
400,000 in California.
Yeah. The house that we have, when I was working in Houston, me and my wife first got married. The property that the house is on, my dad had given us that property right before I got married, and he gave all the kids. He gave us at least an acre, and in my case, he gave me about almost an acre and a half, because the guy that sold him the land, he sold him the back part of the property, and then the front didn't have an easement. So he told the
Oh,
guy, "Hey, I need the front part. How am I going to get to the back part of the property?" And back then, he paid, I think, was $700 or $800 for the acre, and then he charged them, I think, $1,200 for the other half. And my dad was really mad that he charged them that much just for that little section. But lo and behold, years later, it kind of backfired on him, because he ended up selling my dad when they moved over here. My parents, we lived in a little town further down by 5 miles called Glasgow. So he bought land over here, and he bought a bunch of businesses downtown in Bloomington, and he renovated all that stuff. He bought like maybe 30 lots when he came down to Bloomington, because those lots went up for sale because they were lost to taxes. And he was paying like $25 for a lot.
mm.
So he turned around, he cleaned them all up, he sold them for like $1,500, all the lots. And my dad was always looking for a way to make a buck too. So the thing was, to get back to the story of the property, the guy sold the mineral rights with the property. And even though we just have an acre and a half, about 8 or 10 years ago, they started drilling in the 400-acre area. So they put about 8 wells in this area, gas wells and oil wells. So we've been getting revenue for the last 8 years from those royalties, and it's paid off. It's paid more than what the property was, probably 500 times what my dad paid for this land. So
Oh, wow.
I know it's a blessing, knowing that little check comes in every month. But
That's
that man
nice.
was really upset, but he did my dad wrong too by trying to poke his eyes with that front piece of property, trying, he's, well, you want that piece of property, it's going to cost you, he told my dad. I said, man, that's not right. But then he came back later on and said, man, I need to redo it. He said, I sold the mineral rights. I was not supposed to sell you the mineral rights. My dad told me, it's too late now.
Yeah. So, Danny, what are your goals with your channel? What are you trying to accomplish?
There's really not a goal. It's just something that I like doing just to share with others. I've always liked sharing the hobbies that I do. Ever since I was growing up, I've always had at least 3 to 4 hobbies, and they were all seasonal. So during the first 3 or 4 months, I would do rockets. The other few months, I would do. I had railroad, the little N and HO scales. I would do railroads, and then later on, I would do metal detecting. I'm not sure if you're familiar with metal detecting. I've metal detected almost all my life.
Yeah, I've seen it done, but I for a while there I was watching some of the videos where the guys would go out to the beaches or the ones that are real popular is they go to the old Civil War
Yes,
sites
that's
and
my
they're looking.
favorite is the history.
Yeah.
Because around here in Texas, I've been able to work. Well, for a long time, I worked helping out the state archaeologists. I got hooked up with them and started doing archaeological digs and stuff with the state. And I did that probably for about, I don't know, 6 to maybe 10 years helping out. We go on different digs here in this area. And it was a lot of fun. But I still did my metal detecting, but I knew where all these historical sites were that were lost to time and history and stuff due to erosions and stuff with the Gulf beaches and stuff. So a lot of those old towns in this area are out in the water.
Oh, okay.
So I did most of my hunting out in the water because I usually would hunt just for like gold rings and stuff like that for the old beaches. And it actually did really good for a long time. I would hunt. You got to do really your research if you're looking to make it profitable, or are you going to just do it just for fun?
Okay.
You do it for fun. You really don't have to do too much research. Just find a place and go metal detect. As long as you're not going into somebody's property that you shouldn't be there.
So, what was the coolest thing that you have found metal detecting?
Oh my! I mean, from gold coins to gold rings and a lot of silver coins and stuff like that. So,
But there isn't one that just kind of stands out that's like, wow, this is definitely the one that I'm going to hang on to.
I mean, I have most all that stuff I still have, except for the gold stuff. I would pawn off, not pawn it, but there was jewelers that would buy all the rings and the diamonds and stuff. And one of the neatest things at one of the historical sites, it was on private property because you got to make sure you have permission to hunt. And I was hunting with the fellow because he did metal detecting. And you might be familiar with in Goliad, the La Bahia. It's one of the first places that got attacked by the Mexican army during the early 1830s, when they took over Santa Ana and some of the first battles that were taking place during I'm not sure if it was the Mexican Revolution and stuff during that time, but the Mexican or the Spanish War. But in the woods, probably about a quarter mile in front of the La Bahia, on this guy's property, there was a huge oak tree. What was left of the oak tree, and the base of it was probably about maybe 3.5 foot in diameter. The base of that
Oh wow.
tree. The tree had to be over 200 years old. I was digging because he had told me, the guy that dug there, he said he had found a bunch of old silver coins in that area. But he says, I don't think there's much left in there. But I said, well, we'll take a crack at it. We'll go look around. We found a couple of more coins, but the neatest thing I ever found was a musket ball that had a carving of a heart carved out in it.
Oh, okay.
And to me, I thought probably a Spanish soldier was thinking about his sweetheart probably when he was still battling there at the Alamo before they actually took over the Alamo. And he probably carved that deal and fell out of his pocket. And he was probably thinking of his sweetheart back in Mexico somewhere. And I thought it doesn't have a lot of value, but to me, it has a sentimental value. I thought that was so neat.
Yeah, that sounds real interesting. That it's um just to be what I like about those pieces is that you have the ability to create your own story behind it because there's no way to ever know exactly what it was, but what do they call it? Romanticism of you
Right.
thinking about that. And I was kind of like, oh, this is probably what it was.
Right.
But that's what's so unique about those pieces is that
Yeah.
who knows what was going on, but to be able to find something that it's interesting
And who knows?
that somebody would take the time to
think about getting the next guy, and he made sure he cut a heart out so he could shoot him right in the heart.
I like your story better.
Yeah.
So are you trying to go in any direction with the fish you're keeping, or are you looking at breeding in the future, or are you just like me that just likes aquariums and has all kinds of fishes just for the sake of having them?
I think it's about like that. I just enjoy. To me, it's enjoying God's creation. And I come in here, if I've had a bad day at work or just too many things going on, too many activities, I can come in here and just relax and just, I don't know, to me it's so calming to your soul to come in here and just to see the fish just swimming around. And I'll give me a cup of coffee. I'll come in here and on my days off on the weekend, I like to come in here and do my Bible study, my reading in the morning, get my cup of coffee and enjoy the fish. And that's really about it, I'm the type of person, I gotta be doing something. I'm always tinkering. And to me, it keeps me occupied. And I think it kind of runs in some of our family because it's just not a nervous thing, but I feel like if I'm not working or building or something, I'm not being productive.
Yeah. It's like for me too. One of my favorite things is to sit in here, turn off most of the lights, and just turn on the one aquarium that I want to watch, and I'll just sit there and not do anything. You just kind of sit there and stare and just watch, observe. It's interesting to see the behaviors. What's that?
I think some people might think we're crazy.
Not the people in this group, because we all do the same thing. I know in regular society, yeah, we're a bunch of oddballs.
Yeah, it's like some of the guys at work, they'll be talking about something, I'll have my phone, and it'll be something, just a post somebody posted on Facebook, and it has nothing to do with fish, but they already know me, and I'll say, oh, check this out. I said, man, we don't want to see no fish. I said, it is not about a fish. But right away, they think that's all I want to show them.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this community is that we can share and talk about our experiences with them, and they can relate. Because outside of this community, I don't know anybody that can relate with me. That I can, even at work, they think I'm a weirdo because I do videos about fish. And they just recently found out because I never talk about this outside of this community, and my wife and my kids that know that I do this, and my grandkids, but
Yeah.
I never talk about it until I don't know. Oh, okay, I know what happened. I started posting shorts, and I didn't
Oh.
realize my shorts were automatically connected to my Facebook account.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, everybody starts going, "Why are you putting up all these fish stuff? What's going on with this?" And a couple of my coworkers, because a lot, I don't, I have very few friends, and I'm very particular about that. That I allow
Right.
them to be in my inner circle. I have a lot of acquaintances, a lot of coworkers that I interact with, and stuff like that. But they know very little about my personal life. And
Right.
so when they when that started happening, they started, "What the hell, dude? You have a YouTube channel?" Especially because I'm not a kid. Most of the nowadays, it's all these kids that are doing all of this stuff. So they're like, "What the hell? Oh, you have a YouTube channel?" And at the time, I was just starting out too. So now, the couple of the guys that I've actually accepted them as friends on my Facebook account. They're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, dude, that was kind of cool, but and how's your channel going and this and that." But they just find it fascinating that an old guy like me is doing stuff on YouTube, and it's all about fish. And they're like, "Dude, is there really people that watch that shit?" I said, "You have no idea. You have no idea."
Yeah. I mean, I did it just, I don't know. I don't know what got into me to just record a video. And I can't even remember which one I did. I think I was recording one of the little 55-gallon ones that I had inside because I thought it was so cool. And I said, then I found something on the internet that you can actually, you know, do your little video, chop it up and make, video cleaning up and stuff. And I said, you know what? I think I can do this. So sure enough, I went ahead and checked. Actually, I changed the prepping channel that I had and changed it into the fishing channel.
Nice. So what was the old channel's name?
uh, Prepper 62,
Oh, okay.
Texas Prepper 62.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm
Actually, during that time, they had, I had been contacted because we had a lot of videos and a lot of other stuff there going, and that they had a channel. It was called the Prepper Channel or something like that. They would post it. It was on satellite. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was a prepping channel, and they would do one every week or something like that, or they'd have like 3 different ones every week. And they contacted me, wanted to know if I wanted to be on the channel,
mm,
and I said, yeah, I don't think so. My wife said, no, they're not coming to the house because they got to film for about a
oh,
week all the stuff that you have and you do. And my wife said, nope, they ain't filming to see what we got. So
that's
everybody
it.
can notice it. I
Yeah,
said,
that's
nah,
public inventory.
yeah, they don't need to know all of it.
No, but I'm glad you're out here doing the fish stuff, and you know,
Yeah, I love it.
hopefully you'll get to meet some more people. I know that Texas has got a couple of events for fish events that are starting to come up in Dallas. They have what's called Aquashella, which is a big event
Exactly.
that happens every year. And then I guess now in the Houston area, this was the first year, but they have that Aquarium Nation, and
Uh-huh.
it looks like the next year they're going to have it again. And if that's the case, I'm really looking to go out there for that, and it'll be like at the beginning of December, I think, for
Oh,
that one.
for next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
So
Aquashella is when?
I think that's in May. They
In
have a
May?
website. I know they have a website, and I think it's like mid-May when they're
Is that
doing
in
the one
Dallas?
in Dallas.
Dallas.
And there's a lot
Yeah.
of people from the community that go out there. It's a great opportunity to meet some of the people. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and
I think it would be neat just to meet these people and get to chat with them, just because you have the same interests and stuff, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, it's always nice to be able to put a face to a name that you start seeing
Right.
on a regular basis, and
Yeah.
and just being able to have a conversation, just getting, well, at least for me, because I do this again because I love meeting new people. I
Yeah.
love learning about them. I love the fact that there's other stuff besides the fish that they like to do, and
Exactly.
it's just I truly enjoy it. So, but then
And
again,
people are
I
I mean, interesting, you know, and I've always learned that I mean, the people and friends you meet, they always want to talk about, because there's a lot of people out there, they don't get to share their life experiences and stuff. So, and that's why I try to stay silent when I meet somebody, and I want them to tell me about themselves.
yeah, it's just I don't know. I really have had a great time doing this, and hopefully I can continue to do it, and then
I hope
hopefully I
so.
get to continue to meet more and more people. Um, it's just I I enjoy it. It's kind of neat to be able to talk about my hobby with somebody else, and they can understand and relate, and and sometimes you find you have the same struggles. Sometimes you find solutions to some of the struggles that you've had because somebody has
Yeah.
already experienced that and figured out a fix to it. So I love it. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy this aspect just as much as me sitting in here and watching my fish.
Yeah,
That
because
those
when I first started watching your channel and stuff, I started thinking, I said, I know this guy. I wonder what radio talk host he was from. And because I said, you got it perfect. I said, I know you had to come off some radio or something.
No, I don't have any background on that. I did
That's great.
have at one point, one of my jobs was to do public speaking.
That's
I
great.
used to work. I used to work for uh, we. It was called the Imperial County Air Pollution Control District, and being out in California,
Yeah.
um, we used to regulate a lot of the emissions. They had programs to regulate different types of emissions, whether it was from plants, gasoline stations, um, generators, backup generators. There was a whole list of things
Oh.
that had to get regulated. California likes to regulate
Yeah.
everything, and I used to have to go do inspections in this, and then eventually a program came out um, where they were forcing all the diesel trucks to switch over to cleaner burning emissions, and adding these new filters to be able to trap all the soot that would come out of the black smoke coming out of these rigs. So my job was, when the grant was available, to go out and present to the audience that these grants were available and that they would help them, subsidize the cost of
Right.
replacing these pieces of equipment. So that's where my ability to be able to, I guess, speak in front of people and practice, because I used to have to do presentations at least once a week to a whole group of different strangers, and
Yeah.
talk about the regulations and what was coming down, and bringing awareness and doing all that stuff. So that's kind of where I cut my feet as far as learning how to, I guess, public speak to a point and
Yeah.
lose that fear.
Yeah,
And
because there is a great fear to speak to people. Because I had it bad when I got out of school. I was basically, I would rather stay home than go out and meet somebody, because I was worried about what I was going to have to say to them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot that's just a normal fear that most people have.
Yeah.
It just takes work um, at it to be able to overcome it. And it's just with practice. It's like with anything else that you do, the
Yeah.
more you do it, the more comfortable you get. One of the hardest things for me to get over was the sound of my own voice, especially when I'm recording a video. I can't stand listening to the sound of my own voice. It just seems so odd. Um, but my first reaction is, geez, that's what people hear when I speak. It's just it just sounds so weird, so foreign, because you're not used to hearing the sound of your own voice being
Right?
fed back to you. You hear it when you speak, but it's something different when it gets you're watching a video and it's coming back to
Yeah.
you. So that by far was the hardest thing to get used to. And but you know, it's again, once you start doing this, the
Right.
more and more, I guess, the more comfortable you get, or it's not necessarily you get more comfortable, you just don't pay attention to it as much,
Yeah,
because it's
because
just
like some of the when I first started making the little videos for the aquarium room, oh my gosh, I would do about maybe 10 or 15 takes just to do little, and then I would have to go in there and chop them all up because I would mess up so much. I said, man, why can't I do it like these other guys? It could just fluid. It just keeps coming out. And it's after a while, I said, you know what? Just say what's on your heart and your mind. Just talk about what you like doing. And it just comes out now.
yeah, yeah. And again, it's just one of those things where now don't don't think that everybody is fluid, because there's a lot of editing. It's just the level of editing that people have. I have no editing skills, so you see all my and rants, and it's totally uncut. The
Yeah,
only editing that I do is add a thumbnail, an intro, and a very generic outro. I'm
that's what
not
I do
adding
a
any
lot.
kind of I'm not adding any kind of special features, no special effects. I have no skills when it comes to doing that. And so like, I hate editing. I know some people like Alex, Fathom Aquatics. He loves to edit. Well, I don't know if he loves to edit, but his editing skills
You're
are,
right.
you know, excellent. I wish I had them. And I wish I had the patience that he has, because he tells me, we talk on a regular basis, and he'll spend almost a week just
Oh my God.
trying to make sure the lighting is correct. As you can see, my lighting has been on,
I think
off.
that.
You know, those are things that to me maybe should matter, but you know, but they really don't. I mean, I don't really worry too much about it. But you know, it's just I don't know. It's just everybody. I find I and don't get me wrong, I can appreciate a very well edited video. Um, they're the ones that I enjoy the most, and maybe I should do more, because if I enjoy watching those kind of videos, maybe people would enjoy what I'm doing a little bit more. But
Exactly.
I just don't have the time. The reality is time. I'd rather spend that time doing something else that I enjoy than sitting there doing something that I don't enjoy doing. And so I jokingly say that I'm one take Jake. You're gonna get everything. There's you know there's
Yeah, I've
there's no
left a lot of them the
transition.
same way. I'll be recording. I say, oh, well, Sometimes I'll just delete the whole thing. I'll just start all over. I say, I'm not going to go in there and edit that.
Yeah, I've been known to do that too. It's just easier for me to go scratch it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still right at the beginning where it's not making any sense. I'll just scrap that, start all over again. And but if I start losing it like halfway through the video, that's gonna stay in there, because I'm not going back
I
to
know,
go
me too.
record
I'll
that
cut some.
entire video.
I'll just add some text and put on there my correction that I messed up.
Yeah, it's just and then I do most of the editing off the phone. So at my age, it's getting harder and harder to see the screen.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I just want to usually I'll do it most of my editing is like I'll piece it all together during the day, and then I'll
Yeah.
try to upload it, because it takes forever for these things to upload sometimes.
Right.
And then I wake up in the morning and post it. But that's
Yeah.
usually that's usually my uploading schedule. And then the other thing is I don't do I at the beginning it was real easy to do a lot of videos, because a lot of new things were happening in the fish room.
Exactly.
So it made it real easy to share all that stuff. Now that my fish room has been established, well, what am I going to record? I don't have the personality or the knowledge to do all these 10 best kind of videos, or
Yeah.
I don't the fish that I have are the most common fish. So how many guppy videos am I going to do that haven't been done already, or mollies, or recently the only thing that's been changing, or it's kind of evolving for me, that's new to me, is I've been breeding angelfish, and I was for the longest time having a hard time cracking the code from getting them from the wiggler stage to free swimming fry. And
Mm,
and it really boiled down to just not having the right foods to be able to do that. And
really?
I was trying to shortcut it. I was not trying to put the work in to try to create live foods to do this. I was trying to be real simple and just use processed food that was available. But there's
Yeah.
something to be said about that instinctive nature of watching something live move in the aquarium that triggers their behavior. And
Yeah.
now that I'm set up for that, I think I'm gonna try to venture into that and actually purposely breed stuff, because a lot of the stuff has accidentally bred in my fish room just because either the conditions are right, or the setups are conducive to them to breed. But it wasn't that I set out to intentionally breed this species of fish.
Yeah.
And I now I think I'm going to start dabbing into that. And I hadn't been doing that, because if you're breeding stuff is because you already have a plan of how you're going to get rid of it. Because then
Right.
eventually what's going to happen is you're going to get overrun with that species that you're doing there. And again, it falls into that whole ethical thing. What are you going to do with them? You're not going to flush them down the toilet, like you said. It becomes a responsibility for you to make sure that you can keep them. At least that's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. So for a long time, I didn't want to breed anything, because what am I going to do with it? I don't have an outlet for whatever it is that I'm breeding. But luckily, I think I've established a relationship with one of the fish stores up in Phoenix, and he's the one that told me, because I was showing off that I had gotten these angelfish to become free swimming juveniles. And I didn't even ask him. He goes, "Hey, I'll buy them off of you." He goes, I like the way they
Cool.
look, because he saw the parents. He goes, "Anything that you produce as far as the angelfish, I'll buy them from you." So that kind of opened up that relationship to where
Uh,
now I want to purposely trying to get
exactly.
more experience, get more proficient with breeding
Yeah.
angelfish, and then I know that I have a place to be able to take them
Yeah.
to, so that I'm not trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because it's
Right.
real easy to inundate your own market, the community, small community that I have, with
Yeah.
angelfish. You're going to I mean, there's going to be people that buy them at first, but what are you going to do with two or three clutches in that you've already outgrown, and everybody's got angelfish, in your immediate circle? So that's going to open up that possibility, and I'm not going to the point where it's going to become like a breeding facility. I want to breed them the way I'm now, where I can selectively pick a clutch, be able to grow them out, and then once they get to a size to be able to sell them, maybe have one right behind it that I'm working on, and no more than that.
Yeah.
Because then it also, I don't want this to become tedious, and it's no longer a hobby for me, and it
Yeah.
just becomes work. I don't want this to become work. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that enjoyment. Um,
Right.
because
That's why
once
a
it
lot of
becomes work, yeah, once it
a lot
becomes
of
work, it becomes off-putting.
yeah. Yeah. My last hobbies were like that: the metal detecting and the the rocket stuff. It was really just a hobby, just to enjoy, and then it became a slave where I was had to devote myself to it because I had turned it into a business instead of it just being a hobby. And it takes a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah, and for me, I don't mind if it becomes a business after I retire. But right now, I have a
Yeah,
full-time job. I have a family. I have a little bit of time left over, and a lot of it gets dedicated to doing this, so that it's already cutting into some of my spare time that I have. And the
yeah,
last thing I need is for this to absorb completely any available time that I have for my family. So,
right.
I want to see my grandkids grow. I'm watching them. I enjoy that. I love it when they come over and hang out, and I can hang out with them. So those are the things that I have to balance to make sure that I don't get burned out. And
Right.
then this just, you know, be, at any day, I mean, if this really becomes a burden, I just get rid of the stuff and that's it. But
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen anytime soon either. So I
Yeah.
kind of, I'm playing the long game. I'm playing, I'm looking 10, 15 years down the road. I'm not
Same
looking
here.
to, I'm not looking to flip this into a business overnight. That's not what I
Yeah.
want.
I mean, I would do something like that. I would have to add on or open an area over here so I can go into the rest of the garage area, open up maybe another 10 foot by 4 foot and put some breeder tank in there. But like you were saying, I've got to plan ahead the resources of who's going to take these. Around here, nobody, PetSmart don't buy from nobody.
Nope.
And I mean, I'd have to have, distributors or something set up where, I can have a market for it somewhere around here. But for right now, it'd be, it'd be crazy for me to start trying to breed a bunch of fish.
Well, it's not crazy. I feel it would be irresponsible for me to do that because then
Yeah.
what do you do? What do you do with the excess?
Yeah. Well,
You can only give away so many. You can only give away so many before, people are not going to want to take them in because they already have too many.
Somebody on one of the comments told me, he says, well, if you can't get rid of them, just chop them up and feed them back to your fish.
Yeah,
I ain't that cruel.
Yeah, no, I mean that in reality that's what we're feeding them anyways, but it's just
I just can't see chopping them all up.
Soylent Green.
But then, that's crazy. I go fishing and we catch live mullet, bait, whatever, go fishing, and we don't bat an eye to that. We just chunk it out there. Go on. Give me a bigger one.
Wow.
But these are my pets. I can't do that with my pets.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. I mean, that's usually people with the larger fish, I can see how people get attached to them because they do have a personality. Any of the bigger stuff. Most of the stuff that I keep are like little live bears, and they're still pets, but there's a big difference between these pets and my dog. I mean, they're not on the same level. They're not in the same level. I don't shed a tear for a couple of guppies or platies or mollies dying. But if my dog died, I
had 2 fish die on me this past week. I didn't mention anything about it, but I had picked up from Imperial Tropicals out of Florida. I had picked up 2, what are they? Malawi Hawks, a Star Sapphire, and 2 Nemochromis Linnies. And I noticed that the Linnies, and they were about 3-inch, but they were just what do they call it? They weren't sure if they were male or female yet, so I bought them kind of cheap. So they were doing good. They were feeding like all the other fish are. I mean, the tank is well established already. It's been going for at least 3 months. And all the other small fish that I've purchased and put in here, they're doing good. But I've noticed that they took corners. And about 4 days ago, I found one. My son came in here. I told him to come check, the aquariums at night when I was at work. And he says, Dad, one of your fish is dead. I said, what? He said, yeah, it's kind of under the rocks. I said, no, they're sleeping. He says, no, it's dead. So I came in here in the morning and I couldn't find him. I said, nah. I said, he was asleep. My son don't know what it looks like when they're dead. I mean, sleeping. And no, he was behind the rock. He was dead. So I fished him out and I said, man. So 2 days later, the other one dies also. So I sent a message to Rob at Imperial Tropical, and he said, no. Maybe they were having other problems with theirs, but he said, no, they weren't having any problems with the Linnies. So I said, oh, well, they might have just caught something, because to me, it couldn't have been ick or anything else, because the other small fish would have probably already caught the same thing. But everybody's eating, thriving, and all except those 2. Within 2 days, they both died. So
yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, sometimes they just, I don't know. Sometimes it's just genetics. I've had fish where there is no logical explanation as to what could be, because everybody else is fine. you're not seeing any other issues, no outbreaks. It's just sometimes,
Yeah, there was no
they just
aggression. There
expire.
was no kind of aggression towards them or anything else. So
Yep.
it's just one of those things. They die.
Well, Danny,
How we
anything
doing for
else
time?
oh, we're doing good. I just want to see
Okay.
if there's anything else that you want us to know that we don't know about you, or
No, I try not to hide nothing. But no, I just, I live a pretty simple life. I used to be, I guess everybody has a bad spirit in them every once in a while, but I mean, I've changed my ways as I've gotten older and just, um, I had my heydays and I've been married, me and my wife have been married roughly 40 years already. And
congratulations.
we dated for 4 years when we were in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so actually, let me see, 39 years and then 4 years of dating. And now, because she listens to my channels every day or anything that I put out. So she's going to correct me if I was wrong on the dates. But I mean, like any other marriage, you have your ups and downs. There's not a perfect marriage, but you take your vows for better or for worse, and you make it work. I was old school. My parents said, "You once you get married, that's it. You're married for life." So, but we've been blessed. Me and my wife. Uh, we both serve the Lord. My family does too, and I usually try to put that's my priority. But I mean, we're human like anybody else. We make mistakes, stuff slips out every once in a while. You don't want it to slip out. But yeah, I mean, we try to be better. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's all we can strive, is just to try to be better every day.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I really found interesting and fascinating on your channel, outside of the fish stuff, was your scripture readings that you were doing. But I haven't noticed you do any more.
I did one. We had a couple of shutdowns at work and stuff, so I was pretty tired when I'd get home and stuff, and I don't know, I felt bad. I told my wife too. I said, well, nobody watches them and nothing like that, so I said I'm not going to do one this Sunday. So I was trying to get in the habit of doing one every Sunday, and then I'd get home too tired getting off Sunday morning, and I couldn't do one. So I ended up missing a few of them for about 2 or 3 weeks because of some stuff that was happening at work. And I said, well, that's the old devil trying to keep me from spreading the gospel or sharing the good news with someone. But
Yeah,
it's all
you'd be
right. You
surprised
have to get
how many people will actually listen if they are aware of it. I know on Instagram there's a young man, and I interviewed him, and he was like one of my very first guests, Brother Drew, and he's actually, I forget what time in the morning, he does, reflections on scripture and
really.
stuff like that, and it's just, I find it interesting. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, that's one of the things that I really found interesting on your channel, was the fact
Yeah.
that you were doing that. And I always find it admirable that people are willing to be upfront about that, because not everybody is willing to recognize or admit, that side of them. So
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people try to keep it to themselves. I mean, growing up, a lot of the places that I worked with, they'd say, hey, when I first got saved, it was back when me and my wife just started dating. I was going through some hard times, and I was at the point of committing suicide.
oh wow.
And this was a long time ago. And I had prayed that night, and I asked the Lord. I said, "If you're for real, prove it to me." I said, because I needed more money from where I was working at standpoint, and I was working construction as a labor. I was making only maybe like $5 an hour. But I had already some pipe fitting skills from a previous job. So that morning I had already planned what I was planning to do that evening when I got off work. As soon as I walk into work, the superintendent was standing at the gate, He had a big old cigar in his mouth. He says, I need to talk to you right now. Come in the office. I said, okay, good. I'm sure I'm going to get fired. So he says, close the door. He says, I was looking at your application. He says, you got pipe fitter experience. He says, how'd you like a pay raise? I said, a pay raise? Okay. He says, I'm going to bump you up to like $11 an hour. He says, I need a first class helper, pipe fitter helper. I said, okay, you got it. I said, man, my prayer did help. So I knew a guy that I had worked with. He was a superintendent like he was, but at a bigger site with Brown and Root. And he was mean. He was a biker. He rode around with the like Hell's Angels and stuff like that. And he opened the door and he hollered at some guy. And I said, here he comes walking. And I said, oh my gosh, not that guy. So he walks up and the guy's glowing. I said, he don't look the same. Something changed in him. And I said, oh my gosh. So he walks up, he sticks his hand out, and he says, hey, my name is Ken. I'm not going to mention his last name. And he says, I have something to share with you. Hello, how you doing?
This is my wife.
Oh, hi, how you doing? My name's Danny.
This is Danny. He's from south of San Antonio.
Oh, hi, Danny.
South of Victoria, actually.
Oh, south of Victoria. Wow. Texas. the small state of Texas. Love you.
I love you. Nice meeting you.
Same here. God bless you. But the guy came up and I didn't want to shake his hand because he said, that's fine. He says, I know. You probably knew me from the other place where I used to work at. He said, that's not me anymore. And I said, okay, whatever. So my boss told me that you're going to be working for him. He's going to be your journeyman. So we went out, we started working, and that was pretty cool until it came to lunchtime. I got my little lunch box out, got my taco out, started eating my taco. He comes over there and he says, hey, he says, can I join you? I said, well, I only have one taco. He says, no, I'm not worried about lunch. He says, are you a Christian? I said, yeah. I said, I'm a Baptist. I told him, I've been to church maybe one time in the last 10 years. And he says, no, he says, have you ever been baptized? Because I told him, yeah, I've been baptized. And he says, do you know the Lord and Savior personally in your heart? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. So he pulled out his Bible and I said, oh man, that's all I need, a religious fanatic. And so he read some scriptures to me out of Romans and in Acts. And I said, man, I've gone to church all my life. Nobody's ever explained those verses to me that I had to be saved, that Jesus had died for me and my sin. And that's the reason God had sent him. And I said, I never understood that until now. I said, man, my eyes are open. So he prayed with me and I accepted the Lord. And ever since then, so from that day, I went home, to my wife after work. I went and explained what had happened to her. She accepted the Lord. She prayed. I prayed with her that same day, that evening. And then it dawned on me, man, I forgot to commit suicide. But you know what? The Lord answered your prayer.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how things like that happen and work out, and
But it hasn't been a perfect life even since then. You still have your struggles in life, but I look at it as a way that I have someone to lean on all the time. So.
Well, they put that person in your place to make sure that you had somebody to lean on when you least expected it too. So
yes, sir.
Well, Danny, I want to thank you so much for being here. Unless there's something else you want to share with us.
No, I enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Hopefully, we can continue to stay in touch. I really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. And, I look forward to hopefully someday, be able to meet you either with, I go visit my son up in the San Antonio area or we meet at one of the events up there in the Texas area. Yeah. But I definitely look forward to personally meeting you.
Same here. I would enjoy that. That would be a blessing to meet you and your wife and your family.
Oh yeah, definitely. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has joined us, and I guess we'll see you soon. Um, I got a couple of people that I'm still waiting on confirmation. Dee Dee is kindly accepted my invitation, so I think on the 10th we're
Yet?
huh
Jeff?
Jeff. Jeff is playing hard to get. Jeff is being a little diva, and he's got me and Rico dancing circles around each other trying to get Jeff on. So, but yeah, we definitely want to have Jeff on, and now it's kind of a running joke that let's see who can pull him off first, whether it's Rico or me. But yeah, no, definitely, that's one person that just because of how much he has contributed to my channel, and I personally want to have him on to thank him for that, and just hear his story. I just think anybody that's willing to go above and beyond what he has done to help me out, and not just me. That's the thing, though. It's not just me. It's the entire community. One of the things that I always laugh, and this is so true. I'm always talking about, doing these searches for smaller channels and stuff like that. And I always think that I've found this one channel that nobody knows about, and I'm ready to go put a comment, and guess whose name is there before mine? I don't know how he does this. He's always beating me to the punch. And so but yeah, I definitely, and I'm joking about that, but I think we just need to have Jeff on, period. I don't care where it is. We just need to get to know Jeff a little bit more.
He has the channel, right?
Yes. Yeah, he does a lot of outdoor fishing on his kayak and stuff like that.
But do you know the name of his channel?
Jeff Kane. It's just his own.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And before we go, do you have any other social media that you do your fish stuff on that you want people that they can be able to put on Fish Time Lake?
Facebook and to I think I've been doing TikTok. That's about it.
Okay. And how do they find you on those? Is it just Danny Aquatics?
Yeah, just Danny with a small D and Danny Aquatics.
All right. Well, with that said, I want to thank everybody. There you go. Thank you, Mandy, for dropping the link for Jeff's channel. And I just want to say thank you so much for Danny for giving me 2 hours of your time, and everybody else for joining us and watching this. And for those that are watching the replay, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys soon. So you guys take care.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
No problem.